Hola amigos, my name is Billy Sheehan. I'm a bass player. Been around a couple, 3-4 months. Let me show you my stuff here. My bass, first of all. Let me take my in-ear monitor off too. I'm just did sound check and I don't want to step on it. I did that once. They break very easily. Okay, so first up, I got my Yamaha Attitude bass. This is a production model right from the factory. Of course, I do my tweaks on it, but basically the bass I play is exactly what you buy in the store. And I did it like that on purpose with Yamaha, because a lot of times if an artist endorses an instrument, he gets the Koa Bubinga wood fancy schmancy version, and the one you get in the store is plywood. So the ones that I play are actually the ones that are in the store. So the bass has two outputs. You can do a lot of things with that. You can not use it. You can sum them together. You can run them to two separate amps, or you can do a combination of all three. What I do generally, I use two amps, one for this P-bass style pickup, and one for this pickup, which basically was originally a Gibson EBO pickup, put on my old P-bass, was a super deep low end kind of a sound. So you get like, no, there's no, you don't even hear the string noise. It's so ultra deep low end. That combined with the, let me get to a clean tone here a little bit. Now that's not a bass tone you could play in a band with, there's no low end. But all the articulation is a little more clear when you don't have a lot of low end in it. So then when you add the low end from the other pickup, in theory, it's supposed to make it clearer and cleaner. The same principle applies on your stereo speakers when you see a tweeter and a woofer. You're separating frequencies out and letting each transducer do a more limited frequency range that makes them work less hard, has more clarity as a result. So that's the theory of it. That's that's too much, I know. But that's, if you wanted to go deeper in it, you could go there. And you could do the same thing if your bass, if you want to just split it between two amps, make one trebly and one bassy. It's the same thing, you just get a Y connector and use your normal bass. I happen to use the two pickups. And there's some other electronics that enhance that as well, which I'll go into in a bit. Anyway, this bass, dual output, has it's basically modeled quite honestly on the original P-bass that I had, which I had added a Telecaster neck to, 1968 Telecaster neck, big and fat. So this is modeled after that. It had hip shot D-tuner, get down to low D, of course. It had the two outputs that I mentioned before. But the problem I always have with the P-bass, and I don't want to malign the P-bass in any way, shape, or form, because it's the greatest, most iconic bass there is. Played on more records than anything else. But the neck to body joint was a little tough for me because neck bend, sometimes the neck would shift in the slot like this, and then the strings would be like that, and I'd have to do a little chiropractic adjustment to get it back. For years I pounded shims, I torqued the neck down as hard as I could, but it would still move a lot. And so, but that's, most bass players don't do that, so it's not really a problem with the Fender bass. It just didn't be a problem with me and the Fender bass. So Yamaha came up with a couple of different versions of the neck to body joint. This is the third and final. These three screws hold it in, and then we got two screws coming in from an angle like this, pulling the neck into this socket, the cutout socket that it sits in the body. And what that does is it ensures that the neck does not move at all. A great coupling between the wood of the neck and the body. The body is artificially aged wood as well, and it also does that vibration technology. They vibrate it for, I don't know, 24 hours to get it. I don't know why, but it does something. Trust me on that. So anyway, that's the bass in a nutshell. There's maybe a few other fine points I'm missing, but that's basically it. Volume, tone, volume. Volume tone for this pickup. Volume only for this pickup. Back in the days of my P-bass, the original volume and tone would be here. Volume and tone. I removed the tone because I read somewhere that you can get a little bit more gain out of the bass if there's no tone control. I'm not sure if that's true or not, but I thought it was, so I removed it. And I never used the tone control anyway, so it made it a little easier for me. Volume, tone, volume. And then when I have to turn, I can get to that. Really fast. In my sleep, I know where that knob is after playing this bass for so many years, and I just hit it wrong too, incidentally. Of course, what would a bass be without strings? I've been using Rotosound strings pretty much my whole life. The company had a problem back in the 90s the original founder of the company passed away. There was a little bit of chaos, and they had some problems with some of the metal that they had gotten, so we had some dead strings. Completely fixed and cured now for the last probably 15 years, 10 to 15 years. And they're rock solid. This is a specially gauged set. That's my signature set. The low E is a 110. Normally it's a 105. The reason for that is if I drop the hit, it's a little more stable when it's tuned down. So if you playing an instrument you tune down to the low string down to D, or if you just tune down a half step or a step anyway, the 110 is helpful. No matter what kind of strings you play, getting a beefier low E string will never hurt. They're tighter and your low end is beefier and is better. Emphasis on beef. Anyway, and then these are the 80 and a 65, just like the normal John Entwistle set. That is the iconic bass string set that every bass player in the world pretty much has used. And then the top one, I make it a 43 instead of a 45, so it's a little tiny bit easier to bend. Because for this bass, I don't play a 5-string. If you do, God bless your soul, or a 6-string, congratulations, it's cool. There's no, I hate when there's a controversy about it. You just play whatever you want to play, that's cool. So with this bass, I can drop the low D down to, and bend it down. There's a low B, and then I go up to a high E note, and bend that to a G. Extended range on the bass by doing ridiculous nonsense, by bending that up to a G and bending that one down to a B. I haven't broken the neck yet. Of course, with my skinny little pencil arms, there's not much chance of that happening. Okay, so now on to all the other nonsense. Line 6 wireless, great. I got to use 2 because I'm using 2 pickups, remember. So this is a newer version, the Relay G75. It's been rock solid, fantastic, wonderful. The packs are great, they're metal. They use a 1/4-inch jack, which is awesome. Those little multi-pin jacks, they always fail on every wireless, no matter what company. It's always a problem. It has been for me anyway. And so that's rock solid, 1/4-inch jack, bang. It really makes it great. So I'm real pleased with that. They're Velcroed on there, and so because I jump around, but I don't want to fall off. But the Line 6 has been wonderful. Rock solid. We go out of that into my cable that I would use if the wireless ever had a problem, because sometimes, especially sometimes with their video screens, or you're in another country where they got some overlapping frequencies you're not sure about, it can happen. It hasn't happened yet that I had to go to a cord, not in a couple of years now, but it's there. We just unplugged it from the back of that, plug it into me, and I'm ready to go. Out of that we go into this pedal board. Pedal board is relatively simple. There's 2 pickups. I'll do the low first. The low goes into the octave bass, which is a let's get an octave down. I don't use it much, but if I did need an octave down, it's great. It sounds great. It's EBS, they're rock solid. I go into a little transformer coupler. I had a company in the Tone Merchants in LA, in North Hollywood, make me a hi-fi version of a transformer that uncouples the signal from the ground. You'll see little hum eliminators and things like that, a little transformer, and I hadn't got a really good transformer making me a good one, so it wouldn't be any loss because it's a low end, you want it as good as possible. And sometimes you plug 2 outputs from one instrument into 2 amps, you get some weird kind of hum. This eliminates it almost always. Then it goes right out of that into the amp, and in the amp is the Ashley Audio 1-channel. Between a 7 and 10 ratio. Threshold is reasonable. Fastest attack and release. And here's my main output level now, because I wouldn't use the volume control on the bass amp is now the input of this. So if I turn it up, I'll only turn the input of this up, it'll get more compression. Sorry, it's a little complicated. Okay, so that's the low end all done. Then it goes out of here into a single 15. So people see all these 15-inch speakers and they think, oh God, it's going to be unbelievably loud. There's only one 15 working on the low end and one on the high, so it's only 2 15s, two frequencies, so it's not that bad. And it's over amped. There's way more wattage than I had ever used here. And we use 1 output from it. So okay, so that's the low end. Oh, we take a DI off that, incidentally, too. On the high end, I go into the new version of my EBS distortion pedal. What it does is it separates, it splits the signal into two components, distorts one, leaves the other one alone. So basically, if I want to have the distortion on here, I'll just give you a better example of it. If I'm going to turn the, just turn the distortion down. Just clean, bass with nothing on it. Now if I want a little distortion, I can put in as much as I want and whatever tonality of the distortion. We got a sweepable mid-range on it, how much drive, and if you want a little bit more, you can get it, you can pop and get a little bit more boost on the distortion also. It's got a little compression thingy in there, high, middle, which is internally adjustable, and off. And also you can reverse the phase of this pedal if you want, which is a nice tone feature. One great feature about this pedal, if I may say so myself, which is really exciting to a lot of people that have it, the main drive chip inside is swappable. It's in a socket. So you can pull it out. It's basically a dual op amp, 8-pin dual op amp. And there's all kinds of them around. All of them sound different. All of them have different little nuances. You can pop a different chip in there. I've tried some old chips I had from the 70s, and some of my gear popped it in there, and I went back in time, and I had to put another chip in order to get back. Okay. So, so that's basically the distortion thingy. So here, I'll put it back on. So, I use it with the distortion on all the time, and I turn the distortion on and off by shorting out. There's a loop in each channel, in the clean and in the distortion. In the loop, I got a little mid-range thingy to give me a little bit extra mid-range. This BMC's great little box. It's a little more wood tone. And then I turn that distortion off by just shorting out, having an on-off switch in this loop. Get back to a clean sound. Now the clean sound isn't completely clean. I put one of the earlier versions of my pedal sound to get a little bit of, just adds a little bit of on it, a little bit, so give it a little bit more life and harmonic content. Okay, I go out of there into the Micropog Electro Harmonics. Great little box. It reminds me of the Eventide H910 original harmonizer, which I had in my rack in about 1970, whenever they came out. I was one of the first guys, I think, to get one, and it was a great thing because you could do. So along with the bass, with the octave thing, you could. Of wacky sounds out of it. I don't use it that much though. So, and as you'll notice, my pedal board isn't on the floor. For years I had racks and pro audio gear with no pedal control of anything. And so I just got used to going over and changing it by hand when I did it. So, creature of habit now, obviously with all these crazy things I did back long ago. So I don't make a lot of changes in the tone. Distortion on, distortion off, that's about all I ever really do. So once in a while, if I do use those, I even have Jeff, our tech, come over and hit the buttons for me. One of the component which is important today, because we got some noise on the line, we don't know why. We got this noise that happened. It's in the AC line. This is dead quiet all the time, but we got some kind of weird thing that happens once in a while. So fortunately, I got the ISP decimator to remove the noise. It's a great noise reduction idea. I used to use the rack mount version of it, but since I'm doing a little pedal board now, I do that. Oh, incidentally, yes, and at the end of it, it always does go into another channel of the Ashley audio compressor, just for a little bit of bringing all the dynamics together. I use some great pedal compressors. MXR, the white compressor, is incredible. It's really great. The Keeley Pro compressor now, really one of the finest pedals I've ever tried. The the Philosopher's Tone, I think it is. Just a great pedal compression. They're all amazing, but I just wanted to go back to the one that I was used to, the one that I grew up with, and so that was the Ashley Audio. So I went back to it, and it's great because it's internal voltage. I don't know, must be 24 volts or something. So it's got more headroom. It's not a pedal. Pedals are great, and the ones I mentioned are awesome, and couldn't recommend them more highly. But it just wasn't working for me. I don't know why even. Maybe it was some other thing, and I'll troubleshoot it more later and go back to those pedals. But in the meantime, I put the Ashley back in there, and it's just working really well. One other thing I forgot, this BMC will run on 18 volts, and it's internally switchable, so you can run it on 18 volts, which gives you more headroom. I believe these pedals will run on 18 volts too. I've talked with EBS about it. I haven't turned it on yet because in the middle of the tour. When the tour's over, I'll try it in case I burn it out. But it always gives you more headroom, less noise, and an engineer could probably definitely describe it better than I can as far as what it does. All of that goes into a crossover. The reason why, I just use it as what's called a high pass filter. It passes the high frequency, trims off the low. So that's too much. That's none. That's a reasonable amount, and then I get the low end from the other pickup anyway to combine them together. So the crossover, I don't use the low output. I only use the high level output. That goes into the ultra reliable and incredible LH1000 amp, which is very simple. Volume, bass, middle, treble. When the middle is all the way up and the bass is up a little bit and the treble is up, that's flat. It's an odd tone centers. So basically it's a bass all the way down, middle all the way up, and treble all the way off, and it's relatively flat. So, and then I go into the Hartke high drive speakers, which I have not had a problem with at all, ever. They remind me a lot of the original speakers I used back in the 70s and 80s and some of the 90s at JBL with the aluminum voice dust cap, which just sounded great. They're fast, they're sharp, and I've opened up the cabinets to look inside to make sure they're put together properly, and they are. Other manufacturers, I have opened up a few cabinets and seen some shortcuts, but there are none in this, I guarantee you. Then, as an addition to all this nonsense, I have a main stage running. I used to use a Roland Sonic Cell synthesizer, which was a great little box, but I needed all these extra things to make everything work together. And if you'll see over here is the controller for it. It's a Keith McMillan 12-step. I called Keith McMillan one time and said, "Do you have a thing that, no, we don't have anything that does that." And then sure enough, he called me a few months later and said, I made it. So he actually made the thing that I asked for and did it brilliant. You can do a couple changes on here, like for example, you can make it so the note holds until you stop it. And I use it in particular for one song, patch number 8. This changes the what instrument I'm playing through. When Richie was playing the piano in Regret and comes off it, I do the. So I can actually, you can program whatever notes of whatever chords. You can also program it for wrong notes not to even play. So if you step on the wrong thing at any given time, you won't play a wrong note. It's awesome. I generally use it with a big fat low bass tone, like at the end of a song, when you're doing a big. Now it doesn't sound like much now, but when it's through the subwoofers and through the system, it takes the whole building apart. And it's a great thing for bass players to use, or guitar players, or keyboard players as well, just to have that extra thing where you've got it programmed in to do whatever you want it to do. And main stage has been rock solid on this whole tour. On the last tour, this whole system worked for the first show and failed ever since then. Turns out we had a little glitch in the software. When I got home after the whole tour, literally downloading one little thing and doing a tiny little update fixed everything. I wish I would have known that on the tour, because I would have been able to use it. Notes were sticking, it was crazy, but it was not the fault of Keith's gear nor Mainstage. It was a software situation that was incorrect. So, and again, this changes the whatever sound I want. And I got programmed, I got a grand piano, I got a big bass thing, I've got Hammond B3 with a fifth in there, I've got some strings, I got some nice strings, a hard rock organ, I got a really deep weird bass, another string thingy, there's the sound for Richie's thing, and then I got a huge explosion that at the end of the night, when we end the night, I just hit the and then it goes away. So it's a good way to end the night with a big ass giant explosive kind of thingy. So that's my stuff, subject to change without notice. Generally, I try to keep things as consistent as possible, so if there's anything wrong or anything is not working right, I know whose fault it is. It's mine and my hands. So the more consistent everything else is, the more easy it is for you to troubleshoot what's going on with your playing, your hands, in my humble opinion anyway. So that's a quick rundown on my gear. I hope you enjoyed it. Hopefully some of it will inspire you, maybe inspire you to not do any of this, who knows, but that could be good too. So anyway, again, my name is Billy Sheehan, bass player, over and out. Thanks very much for watching.